The President of the United States just ignored a Supreme Court ruling and nothing happened. No arrests, no enforcement, no consequences. And if that doesn't scare you, it should. Salutations, fellow nerds. I'm Rick Y, and today is April 16th, 2025. It's been a minute since I dropped the last video, and I appreciate y'all hanging in there. And between spring break with my daughter and planting the season's garden, life's been beautifully chaotic. But today, we need to talk about something that isn't just news. It's a warning. A man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported to a Salvadoran terrorist prison in what Attorney General and resident wine mom with no chill Pam Bondi called an administrative error. Then, with a smirk, she said that they had no plans to bring him home to his family in Maryland. The Supreme Court unanimously stepped in, yes, unanimously, and ruled that the administration must return him, and Trump's DOJ simply said no. That's where we are, an executive branch flat out defying the Supreme Court. So we need to ask, is this the end of due process? Is this the end of checks and balances in America? So for a quick recap, who is Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Before this propaganda machine gets any louder, let's be crystal clear. The administration and its online Yas Boy echo chamber is pushing a narrative that paints this man as a terrorist. That's not just wrong, it's dangerous. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a 29-year-old man who lived in Maryland for 14 years. Do the math. He came here when he was 15. He's married to a U.S. citizen. Together they raised 3 children with disabilities. In 2019, a U.S. immigration judge granted him protection from deportation due to a well-founded fear of gang retaliation in El Salvador, specifically for escaping their exploitation. There is no criminal record, no evidence of gang affiliation, nothing. Yet Trump and his administration labeled him a terrorist, abducted him, and sent him to rot in a Salvadoran prison. Why? Because calling him a threat justifies treating him like one. If you find yourself justifying that kind of inhumanity, I hope you'll be just as graceful when, not if, this happens to someone you love. The Supreme Court ordered the administration to bring him home. And as of this morning, Trump's team publicly, gleefully said that they're ignoring that order. One judge has already found sufficient grounds to begin holding the administration officials in contempt. Keep in mind, this isn't the first time a president has defied the courts. Back in 1832, Andrew Jackson did the same thing when the Supreme Court ruled in Worcester v. Virginia. His response? Well, John Marshall made his decision, now let him enforce it. That ruling was ignored, leading to the Trail of Tears. Thousands died. No consequences. The rule of law collapsed. Richard Nixon flirted with similar defiance, but resigned before crossing that line. But Trump? He's the first to openly defy the Supreme Court while enjoying the full backing of his party and facing zero military opposition. We're not just witnessing history, we're being dared to stop it from repeating itself. So now we ask the question, did Trump just push us into a full authoritarianism without saying it out loud? There are 5 clear signs of a dictatorship: centralized power, control over the judiciary and law enforcement, a propaganda machine that replaces reality, suppression of dissent, and no consequences for breaking any laws. So let's check in. Trump has purged agencies of people he is called disloyal and rules by executive order. Congress is stonewalling judicial confirmations unless judges toe the MAGA line. Investigations are launched against critics while allies walk free. Fox, OAN, and Truth Social spin a fantasy land where scientists, judges, and journalists are all liars. The free press is the enemy of the people, and the press room is packed with softball throwers praising Trump's health and vigor. We're talking about a man who cheats at golf and lives on Big Macs. And now, we've seen suppression of dissent become federal policy. Protesters, journalists, whistleblowers, they're harassed, surveilled, silenced. Peaceful demonstrators are labeled as terrorists. Immigration activists and critics placed on watch lists, denied visas, hit with asset seizures. One of Trump's loudest critics, the governor of Pennsylvania. His house was set on fire while he and his family were asleep. That is where we are at. And here's the thing that really seals it. In a dictatorship, laws only apply to enemies. Loyalty buys immunity. Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Michael Flynn, they were all pardoned or protected. What about the people who stormed the Capitol? They're applauded and often released. Subpoenas ignored, federal courts shrugged off campaign finance crimes, Hatch Act violations, insider trading rumors, all buried. And now, in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, they've gone a step further. The administration admitted the deportation was illegal and then essentially said, so what? What are you going to do about it? If anyone wants to call this government an authoritarian regime, they now have more ammunition than at any other point in American history. And no, it didn't come with tanks. It came with distraction, with division, with exploited hatred, racism, xenophobia, greed. They weren't created by this administration. They were cultivated. They were watered like weeds in our workplaces, our churches, and online spaces until they choked out the roots of decency. Our courts are powerless without enforcement. The only way to uphold the law now is to issue a warrant to a U.S. Marshal who works for the executive branch. So is it too late? Not yet, but we're closer now than ever before. There are a few institutional roadblocks left, and it's up to us, the people. You need to call your representatives, you need to get involved locally, and demand legislative accountability. Don't let the silence of others keep you silent. This isn't a creeping threat anymore. The clouds are here. The rain has started to fall. I know my audience is small, but y'all are mighty. I need your help to get this message out. I've done videos about Americans who stood up because they believed in one unshakable truth. The Constitution only works if people are willing to fight for it. So I ask again, if this isn't the line, what is? Thanks for riding with me today, and if this resonated, consider liking and subscribing, but more importantly, share it. Someone you know needs to hear this, because Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an American, and he needs to come home. Now. Y'all come back now. You hear?